Normally when you ink a page, if you're right-handed like I am, you'll want to start at the left and work your way right, so that you don't have your arm running across your inked artboard. If you do that, you will smudge your page. Now, by no means am I the best inker in the world, nor am I the best at any aspect of making comics. The reason I'm putting these videos up is because I've noticed there's a serious lack of videos like this out there for the newbie, for the up-and-coming artist like myself. And if you want to learn technique from other artists, damn, it's hard these days. You have to get into a studio, you have to know artists and work with them personally, which I highly recommend. Okay, I'm doing a little line work here on his face. You guys might be able to see that. I'll come in a little close for some of the little detail work as I ink out his mouth and do a couple more things. For purposes of giving you a close-up, I'm going to hand hold the camera for a little while, try to show you what's going on. Trying to make him have a full lip here, give it a little texture. Maybe exaggerate a little bit. Anyway, when people see this drawing, hopefully they'll see that animated quality that things that are living tend to have. Get a little shadow under that lip. This character here is a robot who wears a rubbery, human-like mask over his face. So I want to let the audience know that there's something a little weird about the face. Give it some of those dark pools around the eyes to give some depth to those eye sockets. Now here we're going to have a pool of black for later, so that's what these X's generally indicate on a pencil page. Now I didn't really complete the penciling on this drawing as much as I would have if I myself wasn't inking it. But I find if you don't leave yourself some creativity when it's your turn to ink, you'll find yourself simply tracing over your drawing. And that's not really what you want. You want each aspect of the comic to have its own flair. A little feathering there. Got his tie. A little shadow under his neck. Now his tie is going to be in that black area. So really all we're going to see out of it are the things that are highlighted by the intense light that's coming from the center of the room. Now while inking something like this arm, especially knowing that it's metal and reflective, you're always going to want to concern yourself with where the light source is coming from in your artwork. That's the inker's real job, is filling in the darks and the lights and making everything on the page look like it's being lit up by the same source. It's tough to do. One of the easy tricks is to make sure that the lines on an object which are closer to the light are thinner and lighter. and the lines that should be more cast in shadow are thicker. I would also suggest, if you guys haven't dabbled with a brush yet, definitely give it a try. A brush is where it's at for me. I think it gives the most life to every line that you draw, especially compared to a pen or a marker or Photoshop inking, God forbid. You can always tell when an artist uses a pen and he's not proficient with it. All his lines are the same width. There's a uniformity to the page that tends to be lifeless. Now when you're inking, you're really only thinking about two values: black and white. So when you're working in a pool of black and you want to give it detail, as I just did, your only option is to highlight, because you only got straight black and straight white. So these lines here that were meant to indicate the wrinkles on his shirt will instead be white lines, and instead of inking them, I'll ink around them. Now, as you can see, I've already done the borders on this page with black pen. I used to be way more concerned with how the borders on my panels worked, but I'm not really too concerned with it these days during the inking process, because, as I found out, you'll end up doing so much with your borders later in Photoshop anyway. So you might as well not waste the time right now making them perfect. You'll want to keep them clean. You want them to look nice. But a simple black line that's straight will do. No need to do fancy borders right now. Let's define some of these shadows and go over some of our spots, our black spots that aren't quite black yet. Now, when you're working on your page, another time-saving tip, you really oughtn't worry about making these dark black spots perfectly jet black yet, because you're going to come by with an eraser and try to get off as much of the gray pencil line as you can get. And when you do this, especially over large pools of black, you're going to be taking some of the ink off with it. So you'll probably need to go back after you erase your pencil lines and touch up some of the black pools anyhow. And you want to be careful too while you're erasing, not to erase too harshly over your fine brushwork, because you'll want those lines to be as intact as possible in your scan. Making sure that you get as fine of detail as possible is really important, because it's those little fine details that really make a piece look professional. I see a lot of inked work go all the way through the presses, and it looks like nobody had ever bothered to come back and clean it up. It looks like the time-saving techniques are taken a little too far. You don't want to do that. Now this is a very dangerous part of your inking too, because you'll get carried away, go over some small details, or blacken spots that you didn't mean to. You don't want to do that. And it's also dangerous because it's when the page looks the ugliest to me while you're inking it. It's after you get these black pools filled in, but they're not tight and they're not cleaned up very well. And it can be very discouraging.